Okay, fine. So there are two ways by which the genes can be transferred from one organism into the another organism. So generally, vertical evolution has been seen because when there is binary fission or budding, means the mother cells give rise to daughter cells, there is a chance of vertical gene transfer. Also in eukaryotes, during sexual transduction, this generally happens. But one more common way of transferring the genes between different unrelated species, I'm saying it again, between different unrelated species. For example, I'm here giving an example of bat and frog. So for example, one gene is being transferred from bat into the frog. Both are different species, right? Similarly, in bacteria, though they look alike, they are microscopic, but there are various species and subspecies in bacteria also. So if bacteria is transferring gene between unrelated species, this kind of evolution is called horizontal evolution, and the gene transfer is called horizontal or lateral gene transfer. So there are two names of this type. Generally, this can happen by three ways: conjugation, transformation, and transduction. We will discuss these three processes in detail, so no worries. But before going into the detail, let's look into this particular slide. So this is a very basic model which is depicting that gene transfer is actually happening between different branches of this evolutionary tree. Two major evolutionary gene transfers are showing that the two bacteria which are subcellular organelles of eukaryotes. So actually these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines here are showing bacteria. Then this is archaebacteria, and this is for eukaryotes. Actually, both these diagrams are similar, but here actually they have shown in higher resolution. Otherwise, everything is okay. So mitochondria, actually, it is a proteobacteria which has been developed or evolved into the eukaryotic subcellular organelle. And similarly, similar is the case of plastids, which are evolved from some bacteria, for example, some cyanobacteria, which are able to do photosynthesis and which enable the eukaryotes, for example, plants, to do photosynthesis, right? So there are other lines also which are joining these further. So actually these thin lines are showing the gene transfer, and this is the horizontal gene transfer. So horizontal gene transfer, first of all, gene transfer can be of two types: horizontal, that is also called lateral, and the second type is vertical gene transfer. So generally, I told you vertical gene transfer can only happen from parents to offspring if the genes are transferred, for example, in eukaryotes. But in bacteria, it is generally happening when there is binary fission or budding. Whereas if there is a gene transfer between the unrelated species of bacteria, then this is called as horizontal or lateral gene transfer. We are interested in all the three processes by which the horizontal gene transfer actually taking place. So this is called transformation, transduction, and conjugation. There are three ways by which these genes can be transferred between the unrelated species. Okay, now there are some terminologies. For example, first of all, you need to remember the portion or the segment of DNA which is coming. So first of all, there are two cells. One is called donor cell, one is called recipient cell in all the cases. Donor cell is that particular bacteria which is donating the fragment of DNA, right? And the recipient cell which is accepting this particular DNA segment or a portion of DNA. So this is called exogenote, which is coming from from this donor cell into the recipient cell is called exogenote, and the chromosome which the recipient cell possesses is called endogenote. So generally, what will happen? There is two possibilities: either this exogenote, which is coming into this recipient cell of this recipient bacteria, will either degrade it or it will be integrated into the chromosome by homologous recombination. Okay, so there are two ways by which this can happen. So first of all, either this will degrade or destroyed. Okay, so there is a competition between these two processes, whether it will degrade or it will be integrated into the endogenote. Okay, so this exogenote is a portion of the DNA which is coming from the donor cell. In transformation, the bacterial cell is dead and it will release its, after lysis, it will release its DNA into the environment, which can be fragmented, and these fragments can be uptaken by some other recipient bacterial cell. Whereas in transduction, this is not directly, it needs some bacteriophages to transfer these genes or these fragments from one bacterial cell to another bacterial cell into subsequent infectious processes. So when infection actually taking place in bacteria, so these bacteriophages are specific viruses which only infect bacteria. For example, they are very specific, and in some cases, for example, uh, lambda phage infect E. coli cells. Also, P1 bacteriophage infect E. coli cells only, while P22 is found to infect the Salmonella species. So, with respect to bacterial cells, these phages or these viruses are very specific. They are specifically infecting them. They are able to infect the bacterial cells. Therefore, they are called bacteriophages. So first it will infect some cell, then it will integrate some of its genes into the genome of bacteriophage. When the same phage will, after assembly, will be released after the bacterial cell lysis, it will infect some other cells that is called recipient cell and will integrate the gene which it have received from the previous bacterial cell. Now what you need to note in transduction, actually the DNA which is being integrated into the recipient cell is coming from this particular donor bacterium. Okay, so this is not the DNA of the bacteriophage itself. Bacteriophage here is only a carrier which can transform, which can carry this particular gene from this particular bacterium to some other bacterial cell. Then there is third process which do not require these bacteriophages. Either there is no direct uptake of DNA from the environment. This is called conjugation. Conjugation is actually the DNA transfer between the bacterial cells with the help of some tube which is formed by this is called as pilus. So this pilus is formed because this particular bacterial cell, which is a donor cell, is having F plasmid, F for fertility plasmid. So this fertility plasmid is having some genes which will encode some proteins. These protein will make pilus, and thus there is a connection will made between the two bacterial cells, helping them transferring their DNA from one bacterial cell into the another. For example, one copy of plasmid is being transferred to the recipient bacterial cell, and then this F negative cell will also become F positive after receiving this F plasmid from the bacterial donor cell. Now, there is term merozygote. Merozygote is when there is a transfer of fragment of DNA, then there is a possibility that a gene or a segment of DNA is present in diploid form, is present in two copies in the same cell, at least for some period of time. So this is actually called partial diploid condition. Partial diploid in the sense only a segment of DNA is having two copies, not the complete genome. So this is partial diploid condition, is also called merodiploid condition. Okay. And this the cell which is actually having this partial diploid condition is called merozygote. I told you that either the degradation of this received fragment of DNA will take place, or there is genetic recombination. So there is a competition between these two processes. Either it will be degraded after entering into the recipient bacterial cell, or it will be integrated into the bacterial chromosome endogenote by homologous recombination. So let's look into the Pathfinder. So exactly what is given, what is written. So I'm reading from page number 444. Okay. So this is horizontal gene transfer and genetic recombination topic. Gene transfer refers to the movement of genetic information between organisms. Okay, so gene transfer can be horizontal or vertical. If the transfer of genes from parents to offsprings in case of eukaryotes, or from mother cells to daughter cells in case of bacteria, then it is termed as vertical gene transfer. Whereas transfer of genes between the two independent organisms is called horizontal or lateral gene transfer. So sexual reproduction in eukaryotes is an example of vertical gene transfer, right? And in prokaryote, this is also reported, but actually this is happening by binary fission, because mostly bacteria divide by this process. Though we have studied yesterday only that some bacteria also multiply or divide by budding process, okay, but they are very rare and few examples. Generally, bacteria showing binary fission. Prokaryotes can also do this horizontal gene transfer, and there are 3 processes by which they can do this: transformation, transduction, and conjugation.
हेलो
Yes, who?
सर एक्चुअली मैंने कहीं सुना था कि कंजुगेशन को जो है हम सेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्शन में कंसीडर करते हैं.
Okay, right. In case of bacteria, you can say this is kind of sexual reproduction because the sex pilus is being formed between 2 cells, right?
यस
Okay.
सर. सर अभी आपने बोला कि वो हॉरिजॉन्टल है, वर्टिकल नहीं है, तो हम वर्टिकल में कंसीडर कर सकते हैं?
No, actually, okay. So you are confused by these 2 terms, horizontal and vertical, right?
यस सर.
Okay, no, we cannot consider them into the vertical gene transfer because they are common types of horizontal gene transfers only. Okay, because in generally the vertical gene transfer is the transfer of whole one copy of genes from parents to offsprings. For example, we got 2 copies from each of our parents, right? Similarly, if bacterial cell is able to get one complete set of chromosome from its parent, then only it is considered as a vertical gene transfer, right? But horizontal gene transfer generally happening, actually I told in the beginning of the class only that it will occur between unrelated species. So for example, in case of eukaryotes, you can say, for example, from bat to frog. Similarly, in case of bacteria also, if there are 2 species involved, this is called as horizontal gene transfer, means the transfer of genes between 2 different bacterial species or 2 different bacteria. Right, so there is a difference between these 2 processes. We cannot consider conjugation as a type of vertical gene transfer, right? Yeah, exactly. Namrata, sexual reproduction involves formation of gametes since bacteria do not produce any gametes. So no, gametes are even not formed in case of binary fission also. This is not the case actually. Only what you need to remember is if this is the same species and if the parents to offsprings, means for example from bat to bat, for example, this is a kind of vertical gene transfer. But if it is happening between 2 different species of either eukaryotes or some bacteria, then it is referred to as horizontal gene transfer, right? So this is the way you need to remember this. Okay, right. So again, if you are a bit confused, so there are two ways of transferring genes from one organism to another organism. Please remember and please focus on terminology. What I'm saying organism. Okay. When I'm saying organism, it can be from parent to offspring, or it can be from one species to another species. But generally, if I will consider only from parents to offspring kind of gene transfer as vertical gene transfer from, okay, and if it is between two different species, then generally it is considered as horizontal gene transfer. And horizontal gene transfer can occur either by three processes: conjugation, transduction, and transformation. Transformation is the uptake of DNA fragment from the environment, right? So generally what will happen, our donor cell will lyse and the DNA will be fragmented, and these fragments of DNA will be uptaken by some recipient cell, which is we will discuss this transformation in details. I will tell you how this process is being achieved. There is some competency factors. There should be competence. Only then this particular cell will uptake these fragments of DNA. This is not very random. There are some proteins which will help in the uptake of the fragments of DNA. Now the DNA fragment which is coming from this donor cell is called exozygote, whereas the segment of or the complete chromosome of recipient cell is called endogynote. Now what will happen, there is two chances that either this exozygote will be degraded or there is a genetic recombination. So either it will be degraded or it will be inserted into the endogynote to make a recombinant cell, right? To make a transformed cell. Similarly, the second process by which this horizontal gene transfer can happen is called transduction. Transduction by some bacterial, so this bacterial DNA is being transferred with the help of some bacteriophages. These bacteriophages are specific viruses which will help in the transfer of some segment of DNA from this particular cell to some other bacterial cell. Okay. Third process is conjugation, by which directly some genes from the chromosome can be integrated into the plasmid, and these plasmid, when undergoing replication and they are transferred from one donor cell into the recipient cell, can carry these genes which are actually transposons. Transposons are jumping genes, so they can be integrated either into the plasmid or into the bacterial chromosome. So from the recipient or donor cell, from the donor cell, these genes or transposons are integrated into the plasmid. You can see this yellow portion here also. Then it will be integrated into the bacterial genome or endogynote when this plasmid copy will be transferred into some recipient cell. So these are three ways. We will discuss all the three ways in detail. So we move to Pathfinder. So everything is written. There's two ways: vertical gene transfer and horizontal gene transfer. Sexual reproduction in eukaryotes is saying in eukaryotes. It is an example of vertical gene transfer because from parents to offsprings, these genes are being transferred. So this is a kind of vertical gene transfer. Whereas the prokaryotes also do a vertical gene transfer if they divide by binary fission, because we know before binary fission, bacteria need to replicate its chromosome, and then the two daughter cells will have equal number of or the same copy of chromosome or plasmids. So binary fission is a type of vertical gene transfer. But prokaryotes also show horizontal gene transfers. So these horizontal gene transfer passes genes to other prokaryotic cells. Okay, so if they are transferring these genes to other prokaryotic cells, other cells, not the progeny or the offsprings, then this is considered as horizontal gene transfer. There are three ways: conjugation, transformation, and transduction. We have discussed with diagrams. Two terms, exogenote and endogenote. I told you already. Also, I told you the merozygote, which is a partial diploid condition. It is also called as merodiploid cell. So this diagram better depict what is this merozygote. So first of all, I show you the same example. So for example, this. So the fragment of DNA, which is coming from the environment or from some other bacterial cell into this recipient cell, is called exogenote, because it is coming from outside. And the chromosome which in this recipient cell have is called endogenote. What will happen? This exogenote will be integrated into the endogenote by homologous recombination. So there should be some homology or sequence similarity. Only then this will happen. Otherwise, it will be degraded. Exogenote will be degraded. Now, what is merozygote? Merozygote is because this particular fragment may possess some genes which are present in two copies, one copy over this particular exogenote and one copy over this endogenote. So there are two copies, but only for some genes. Suppose it is having one or two or three genes, but this particular chromosome is having thousands of genes. So this is a kind of partial diploid condition, not a completely diploid condition. So this is also called merodiploid or partial diploid, and the cell which is having this kind of condition is called as merozygote. Now see this also. Suppose this is the endogenote, the chromosome of recipient cell. Now some exogenote will come from outside and horizontal gene transfer either by transformation, transduction, or conjugation. This particular fragment is being transferred into the recipient cell. So this is the endogenote, this is exogenote in the same cell, and suppose this have the same genes, so alleles of the same genes. So this is capital A, small a. So this condition is called merozygote because this is showing partial diploid condition for gene A. Are you okay with it or have some problem or confusion here? The recipient bacterial cell on genetic material into which the donor DNA or the exogenote will be integrated is called endogenote. So it is a diploid condition for a part of its genome, and therefore is said to be merozygote, partial diploid, or merodiploid condition. Right? In merozygote, genes or alleles, which are the alternative forms of the same gene of exogenote, may or may not substitute alleles of endogenote. See here, either this part or this black portion will be integrated into this endogenote, and it will replace this capital A region, or it will not replace this. So both way possible. Either it will replace this capital A or it will not replace. So in molecular biology, the process of replacement of one allele by a different allele from the same gene, because A is the same gene, but they are having two different alleles, capital A and small a. So this process in molecular biology is referred to as genetic recombination. This process preserves the structure of gene, but it will replace some portion from the DNA and some other portion will be integrated to preserve the overall structure of the gene. Such recombination generally requires that the two molecules should be homologous, and they have very similar, although very not necessary that the identical DNA sequences. So it is not necessary that they have very identical DNA sequence, but it should be prerequisite that they are having at least some similarity. They will have at least some homologous nature. Otherwise, the recombination will not take place. If they are non-homologous, if they are not having sequence homology, for example, due to the originating from the different species, then the recombination is very unlikely. It may happen that recombination will not take place at all. If they are very unrelated species, then recombination may or may not take place. So everything is depending upon the homology, sequence homology between the two segments. Then only this recombination process can take place. Exogenotes are normally degraded rapidly, so that there is essentially a race between the process of degradation of the exogenote, that portion of the DNA which is coming from outside, and genetic recombination. So these are two processes. So there is a race always. Either it will be degraded or it will be integrated into the bacterial endogenote. So the first process called transformation. We know transformation was discovered in bacteria in 1928 by Fred Griffith. So transformation is uptake of naked DNA. So let's see first of all what is transformation and how it was discovered. So we have studied these type of experiments in our +2 standard. So there were four experiments in which there are two types of strains he was selected. So let me annotate this because this has been asked several times. So either second R or third S. Right. So there are two strains of bacteria, Streptococcus pneumoniae, which is a Diplococcus organism. Actually, you can see here the cell type is shown. There are two cocci which are connected together. So these are Diplococcus in nature. So there are two strains. One is second R, one is third S. S was virulent. Why? Because it is having a capsule. It is having a virulence factor in its capsule region. This capsule is also giving a shiny appearance and a smooth appearance to these cells. They are smooth, as for smooth, but they were virulent. They will kill the microorganism. If you will inject these type of bacteria into the mice directly, it will die. And if you do autopsy of the dead mice, you will recover type 3rd as virulent strains of bacteria from the mice. Okay, so then second R, if you inject second R, which is rough actually, it is not non-virulent because it is having one mutation in the gene which is encoding this capsule. So therefore they are not able to make the capsule, and therefore they are not having the smooth appearance. They are rough in nature. So therefore they are rough and non-virulent. If you inject into the mice, nothing will happen to the mice. It will survive. And if you do autopsy, even the bacteria is not recovered from the mice because bacterial immune system will remove all the bacteria from the body. Okay, now what will you do? Because this is virulent, now you will heat these bacteria, 3rd S, heat killed the 3rd S, which is virulent previously, but after heating, because the DNA will be disintegrated, and if you inject these heat killed 3rd S microorganisms, then the mice will survive, and you will see that there is no bacteria recovered after autopsy. But this is last experiment was known as transforming principle, because if you mix these heat killed 3rd S with the second R, which are not heat killed, these are integrated. So what will happen, because these heat killed bacteria will be, these cells will be lysed, their DNA, the genome will be coming out of the cells it will be fragmented after heating, and these second R strains will uptake those DNA molecules, and ultimately they will be transformed because the DNA will undergoing some genetic recombination and start making the capsule. Okay, so a mixture of type of second R bacteria and heat killed third S, when injected into the mice will die. And if you do autopsy, you will find that type third S virulent bacteria is recovered from the dead mice, whereas you injected the dead or the heat killed type third S. So this experiment is showing it was the first experiment in which the transformation is first observed or noticed in 1928. Then after so many experiments, the Avery, MacLeod and McCarthy finally proved that the DNA is the material which is being transformed, means which is moving from these third S lysed cells to second R intact cells, and it is responsible for the transformation of the cells. Okay. Sorry. Then in the next experiments by these two scientists, after 8 years, Hershey and Chase finally conducted some bacteriophage experiments and proved that the DNA is the genetic material. Scientific community is not able to accept the fact, even after these two experiments, after Griffith and Avery, MacLeod and McCarthy, they did not accept the fact that DNA is the genetic material. Only after 8 years, when Hershey and Chase performed the phage experiments, then they finally believed that the DNA is the genetic material. Then these four scientists finally proved the structure of DNA, and they have elucidated the structure of DNA, and they prove that DNA is genetic material finally. Okay. One question has been asked, so that's why I have included this portion also in this particular slide. Franklin. So Rosalind Franklin actually died before getting the Nobel Prize. Therefore, the critical effort were not recognized. Actually, she gave the X-ray diffraction structure, XRD model of the DNA, over which, by using this X-ray model, the two scientists, James Watson and Francis Crick, finally make the double-stranded model of the DNA. But because she died because of the breast cancer, and therefore Nobel Prize cannot be given after death. And so only these three scientists were able to receive the Nobel Prize. Okay. So the question was asked that who did not get the Nobel Prize in DNA structure elucidation experiments. So it was Rosalind Franklin, because after death, Nobel Prize cannot be awarded. Okay, so now we will go into the details of transformation. But before covering all this, first we will read it out from the text. So transformation is the uptake of DNA molecule from the environment or fragment from the surrounding environment by a cell, that is called the recipient cell, and the incorporation of this molecule into the chromosome of the recipient cell, that is called endogenome. So finally, the incorporation, after only incorporation, it can be regarded as the transformation, and the cell is known as transformed cell, right? Transformation may be natural or artificial. So if it is actually happening in the environment, in some species of bacteria, then it is natural. If we are uh, forcing the transformation to happen, and it is artificial. For example, in the Griffith experiment, it was artificial. Why we need to do artificial transformation? I will tell you. For gene mapping, to map the genes, to map the order of genes and their positions over chromosome, we need to do transformation experiments. Okay, natural transformation is very rare event and has been observed in both gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria. So although it has been found that in both gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria, the transformation actually take place, but the strategy is different. Streptococcus pneumoniae and Bacillus subtilis, these are gram-positive bacteria in which the natural transformation has been observed, as well as in gram-negative bacteria, Haemophilus influenza and uh, H. pylori. These bacteria, gram-negative bacteria, in which these transformation has been observed. The ability of the recipient bacterium to take up the DNA molecule from the surrounding environment and become transformed is known as competence. Now, this is very important factor. Without competence, the transformation cannot take place. Competence is an inheritable characteristic. So always it is present inside some bacterial species, whether it is competent or not. So generally the closely related species are showing the transformation because they are competent with each other. Competent bacteria that can take up the DNA and code some proteins that are called as competence factors. So this competence is a result of these proteins. So the bacteria which is making these competence factors will helping those particular species of bacteria to uptake the DNA. These proteins facilitate the binding of DNA fragment to the cell surface and uptake the DNA into the cytosol. So let's see. See here. So there is a bacterial chromosome, endogenote. This is exogenote or transforming DNA coming from outside or present in the environment of this particular cell. Then there is some DNA binding proteins or competence factors which are generally present over the cell wall or cell membrane of this bacteria, and they will help binding this DNA exogenote so that finally they will be helping the uptake of DNA inside the cytosol of this bacterial cell, recipient bacterial cell. But you note this is a double-stranded DNA, but while uptaking the bacterial DNA or the exogenote, only one strand is being uptaken and the second strand is being degraded. So this degradation is actually, there is not a single protein here. Some proteins which are helping DNA uptake, other proteins are having some nuclease activity which will degrade the other strand of the DNA. So only single strand of DNA will be uptaken and it is present, or it will undergoing some homologous recombination with the genes which are present in the endogenote. So this is undergoing some homologous recombination to make a transformed cell, transformed bacterium. So these competence factors are, there are more than one protein which is helping in uptake of DNA from donor or from the environment into the recipient bacterial cell. These proteins facilitate the binding of DNA fragment to the cell surface and uptake of DNA into the cytosol. The mechanism of transformation has been intensively studied in Streptococcus pneumoniae, which is a gram-positive bacteria. The same microorganism which is actually studied by Griffith in 1928 is a gram-positive bacteria. Streptococcus pneumoniae become competent during the exponential growth phase. So it is not non-competent in other phases, but when it is undergoing exponential growth phase or in the log phase, it will become competent and it is able to uptake the DNA from the environment. Competent bacterial cells bind double-stranded DNA fragments, and the uptake of DNA into the cytoplasm is random, and any portion of the donor DNA may be entered during uptake, and one strand is hydrolyzed. It is hydrolyzed or being degraded. by membrane-associated exonuclease. So there are some exonuclease enzymes also present which are degrading one strand of the DNA and the other strand moving into the cytoplasm. Let's see into the details of this in the gram-positive bacteria. So first of all, see this particular diagram. It is showing that some DNA fragments are present in the environment in the close proximity of this bacterial cell, and finally one fragment is being uptaken by this bacterial cell. It will have two possibilities: either it will be integrated into the uh, by homologous recombination, so it is showing red color here, or otherwise it will be degraded. So always there is two possibility. You need to remember, you need to keep this into mind that not always this recombination will take place. Sometimes it will undergo degradation process also. And actually there is both way possible. Either this, because bacteria is having two type of genetic material. One is the main bacterial chromosome, one is plasmid. So transformation is possible with both in both the cases, either the DNA fragment, that is the chromosomal DNA, homologous regions, or transformation with the plasmid. So either a plasmid or a fragment of bacterial genome or chromosome can be transformed. Now, there is one more diagram. So look this, mechanism of transformation in gram-positive bacteria. So you will see that there are some competence factors or proteins which are helping in uptake of this particular double-stranded DNA, and there's some nuclease or exonuclease which are degrading one fragment into the free nucleotides, hydrolyzing this double-stranded DNA into single strand, and then this will be going inside the cytosol. Finally, it will undergoing some homologous recombination process and will be integrated into the bacterial chromosome. So, and then we'll make a double copy after replication. Right. So this is called transformed cell if it is successfully integrated into the bacterial chromosome. Now, how it is happening? So there is many proteins which are actually helping in this process. So there is exogenous DNA, exogenote. There are some proteins that are DNA binding proteins. We do not know the names, but they are helping the binding of this DNA to the cell surface. Actually, this is a gram-positive cell, so this is having cell wall and membrane. This is not having an outer membrane. Okay. So first of all, there is a channel like protein that is called EC, and one protein which is holding this double-stranded DNA called EA. And there are some nucleases which are degrading one strand of DNA, and they are allowing only one strand to pass through this channel to the plasma membrane, and this strand will be delivered into the cytosol. Finally, the RAK proteins will bind to the single strand, and they will help in the recombination process while this particular segment will be integrated into the bacterial chromosome. Now you will note that this is an ATP dependent process, so it will need some ATP energy to do this particular transformation process in the recipient cell. It will require some energy. Also, so first of all, I showed you that this is actually happening in case of Streptococcus pneumoniae. This is a gram-positive bacteria. Also, Bacillus subtilis. This is also a gram-positive bacteria. In gram-positive bacteria, there is a little different set of proteins which is actually helping the transformation of DNA. So see here. So here, this is the peptidoglycan cell wall COM-GC proteins, which are helping binding the double-stranded DNA molecule to the bacterial surface. Then there is COM-EA protein, N4 nuclease. So it is written here, DNA binding protein, COM-EA nuclease, and channel protein EC. And then finally, it will help moving one strand of DNA into the COM-FA, one more protein which is present here. Also it is present, so it will finally translocate. It is a DNA translocase, so it will translocate the single strand of the DNA into the cytosol. Okay, so in different species of bacteria, there may be a difference of some proteins, but the overall process will remain same in gram-positive bacteria. Whereas in gram-negative bacteria, there is a different story, because in gram-negative bacteria, there is, sorry. So this is a gram-negative bacteria, for example. So gram-negative bacteria is having an outer membrane, a peptidoglycan cell wall, and an inner membrane. So there are clearly depicted in this particular diagram. So this is the outer membrane, which is lipopolysaccharide layer. So this is shown here, peptidoglycan cell wall, and this is the inner membrane. Now it is having some proteins which is helping binding this double-stranded DNA to this particular cell. Then some nuclease will make them single-stranded DNA, and finally the single-stranded DNA will pass through the plasma membrane by the same protein that is called as EC, and translocase called COMF. Right? In the second type, there may be some saccharide units present over the lipopolysaccharide layer, and some phage, some bacteriophage will transfer some of the double-stranded molecules of DNA, and finally they will be translocated through the same channel. And there is a third process also in which the phage particles are translocating this double-stranded DNA, and they finally come directly into the cytosol. Okay, but we are interested in this particular process because this double-stranded DNA is actually being transferred through the outer membrane, and then some nuclease will convert them into single-strand DNA. Single-stranded DNA is being translocated into the cytosol. Then single-stranded binding proteins will, for example, DPRA, will hold them. If they are having no homology, then they will be degraded. If they are having homology or sequence homology, then there is a possibility of genetic recombination in the endogenome. So for example, it is shown more clearly here. This is the single strand which is incoming in the cytosol. If it is degraded, even then these nucleotides can be used in DNA replication. Okay. If it is not degraded, it is having some sequence homology, then it will undergo some homologous recombination process to make the transformed cells. Okay, so it is written here, building blocks, acquisition, deletion of genes. Some genes are deleted, and some genes which are coming from outside will be acquired by homologous recombination process. And if there is a DNA damage, so some portion will be cleaved, one strand of the DNA will be cleaved, and in place of that degraded DNA or damaged DNA, the portion which is coming, if it is homologous, it will be placed in this particular strand in the double-stranded DNA. So this is a kind of DNA repair method. So the three ways can be possible if the single strand of DNA is entering into the cytosol of a bacterial cell. Either it will be degraded, making nucleotides, and these nucleotides are being used in the DNA replication process. If it is going homologous recombination, then it will make the transformed cells, or it can be used in the DNA damage repair method, in which this single strand of DNA is damaged. So some portion will be cleaved and removed. Instead of this strand, this will be integrated. So you can see this blue segment is being integrated instead of this black segment is being removed at this site from here up to here. So this blue region is showing that the DNA repair is also using this incoming single-stranded DNA. So this will also help integrating the incoming exogenome, and this will be integrated into the endogenome. So, okay, so in gram-negative bacteria, for example, Haemophilus influenzae. So this was the first gram-negative bacteria in which the natural competence was found. Some other gram-negative bacteria are different from that of the gram-positive bacteria, like Streptococcus pneumoniae. Streptococcus pneumoniae is a gram-positive bacteria. So Haemophilus influenza, which is a gram-negative bacteria, is having different strategy. The DNA uptake is associated with the formation of small membranous structures that are called transformasomes. So these transformasome-like structures will be formed, and they will help. They are only found in gram-negative bacteria, right? Which protrude outside the cell, as it's shown here. It is not shown in this particular diagram. You can suppose that some structures will be formed at the surface of the cell, protrude outside, and they will help in protrude outside of the cell, and they will help in the transforming DNA is taken into these vesicles, and these vesicles then internalize into the cell. After internalization, they will uptake the exogenode. Second, unlike Streptococcus pneumoniae, DNA uptake is Haemophilus influenza is not random. So in gram-positive bacteria, it can be random, but in negative bacteria, this is not random process. This is very selective process. Why this is selective? Because a gram-negative bacteria is having some uptake sequence, which is some 11 base pair sequence repeat. So whenever there is a transformation, this is the sequence, this 11 base pair sequence, which is repeat many times in Haemophilus influenza genome, is being recognized. So these uptake sequences are very important. Therefore, in gram-negative bacteria, this is not random process. DNA from only closely related species can enter into the cytoplasm. So this is very selective, and only the related species of bacteria can donate the DNA, and this will be uptaken by the recipient cell, because they all should have this uptake sequence. In Haemophilus influenza genome, so DNA must have this sequence to be bound by the competent cell. If the DNA, which is exogenode, is having this 11 base pair repeat, then only it is able to bind to the competent cell. Otherwise, it will not bind to the competent cell. Thus, Haemophilus influenza take up preferentially DNA of their own species by recognizing these uptake sequences, 11 base pair repeats. Whereas Streptococcus pneumoniae, gram-positive, and Bacillus subtilis, gram-positive, do not discriminate between their own and foreign DNA. So now you are able to understand that this transformation is different in gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria. There are some differences. For example, in gram-positive bacteria, this is random process. They do not discriminate between their own DNA and the foreign DNA. Sometimes even very random fragments of DNA can be uptaken. But in gram-negative bacteria, this is very selective process. This is not random. This will happen, this will take place with the formation of some transformasome-like structures, which are vesicles, which are protruding outside of the cell, and they are helping internalization of the exogenode or some fragment of the DNA inside the bacterial cytosol, right? And in gram-negative, because this is very selective, this is not random because of these uptake sequences, which are 11 base pair repeats. So they should be present, and they're helping in the closely related species can only exchange the genetic material. Guys, are you able to follow this? Or if you are having some query, please ask me. There are many terms we have encountered up to here. So merozygotes, for example, which is partially diploid condition, exogenode, endogenode, transformation, uptake sequences, competence factors. So you need to remember these terms. If you remember these terms, you need not remember complete theory if you understand these terms better. Okay. So process of transformation, how it is actually happening, it is saying the same thing what I showed you in the diagram. So in the presence of transformation, or in the process of transformation, natural competence with bacteria, competent bacteria actively pull DNA fragment from their environment into the cell. It is showing that it is an active process, active pulling of DNA fragments. That's why I told you that it will use the energy of ATP while it is pulling the bacteria from the environment into the cell cytosol. DNA can be naturally released into the environment when bacterial cell die and subsequent lysis will take place. Okay, so once the free DNA come into the contact with the competent bacteria, linear double-stranded DNA molecule will enter into the cell. One strand is translocated across the plasma membrane into the cytosol with its 3' and leading. So the leading strand will always 3', whereas the 5' and which is which is a complementary strand of this will be degraded by some exonuclease. The strand not translocated is degraded at membrane surface by some exonuclease. The translocated strand integrated into the chromosome by homologous recombination. Recipient cell that undergo this process and acquire a new phenotype as a result of this process is said to be transformed cells. So if someone asks you what is transformed cell is a recipient cell which will undergo genetic recombination or homologous recombination process after acquiring the new exogenome or fragment of DNA, and it will give some new phenotype, new property, new characteristic to that particular bacteria. So this is said to be transformed. Single-stranded exogenome are so transformed, as we have seen one example. So, for example, in case of Haemophilus Streptococcus pneumoniae, in the Griffith experiment, they are transformed. So this rough strain is having one mutation which is not able to make this polysaccharide capsule over the cell. Therefore, they are having this rough appearance. But if a gene which is encoding for this polysaccharide capsule or coat will be transformed into the R cells, so the R cells are said to be transformed after the integration of this particular gene into the chromosome, and then this mutated gene will be replaced with healthy gene, and then they are able to make the capsules over their cells, and therefore they will have a smooth appearance. And because of this capsule and smooth appearance, they will become virulent, and therefore they are able to kill the mice in Griffith transforming experiment. Got it? So single-stranded exogenomes which are unstable and will usually be degraded unless they are integrated into the chromosome or endogenote. So there is a requirement that they should be integrated into the endogenote, otherwise they will be degraded because they are single-stranded and highly unstable, right? By the process of homologous recombination, the transforming DNA integrate into the bacterial chromosome. If the exogenode contain an allele of endogenode, the resulting recombinant double helix would contain one or more mismatched base pairs and therefore referred to as heteroduplex. Why this is called heteroduplex? Because it is having two different origins of DNA. Right. So heteroduplex is a double-stranded DNA in which two strands have different origins. They are coming from different bacteria. Therefore, they are said to be heteroduplex. See here, if I'm having one example of heteroduplex. So right here. So it is heteroduplex because it is having the genes from two different species, means they are having two origins. So one is from the recipient, one is from the donor. This condition is heteroduplex condition. These mismatches are repaired by the DNA repair enzymes that scan the DNA and it will be repaired. Okay. Finally, the DNA repairing enzyme will remove these mismatches and finally it will become homoduplex. The enzymes or the enzyme system preferentially replaces the bases in the new strand, thus restoring the genotype of the recipient. If the region is replicated before it is repaired, however, one of the two daughter chromosomes will be recombinant and the other will be identical to the recipient. Okay, what he is saying actually, so suppose this so what will happen, as I told you, it will be repaired by DNA, some DNA repair enzymes. But suppose this is present in this heteroduplex form. Okay, so this double-stranded DNA, if it is not replicated and the before replication, the cell is divided. So one cell will have the normal chromosome, whereas one cell will have this recombinant chromosome, right? And then if recombination will take place, one population of cells will be normal, otherwise the other population will be transformed. Okay, if the region is replicated before it is repaired, so one of the two daughter chromosomes will be recombinant and other will be identical to the recipient. Okay, now you would be interested in knowing that why we need to do these transformations. What is the application of doing transformations? So mapping is done with the help of these transformations. So gene mapping is one application. Transformation is used for gene mapping. Mapping by transformation experiments is based on the principle that the two genes transform together. Okay, suppose that there are two genes which are present very close to each other. For example, in this, so for example, what I want to show you. Okay, so you can see this is exogenote, this is endogenote, blue color. So it will be integrated into the endogenote. Suppose it is having two genes. I'm showing. So it is having one gene here, this is A gene, and one gene is here. This is B. Suppose there are two genes which are present very close to each other, and they are not present here only, they are present in this particular chromosome close enough. So that's why they are present over the same fragment. When this large chromosome is fragmented from the donor cell, they will come over the same fragment, because they are present close together. But suppose they are present very distant from each other. Suppose one gene A here and some other gene B here. So you cannot say that the same fragment may have both the genes. Therefore, this type of experiments have been used to map the genes. If they are present together, they should be present over the same fragment when this particular DNA is being degraded, being fragmented. If they are not present together, means they cannot come over the same fragment. They should present over different fragments. So thus we can locate different genes. Suppose this is A, this is B. So therefore, using this strategy, we can map the position of genes. If they are near enough to be carried on the same DNA fragment, let us consider two genes A and B present on the bacterial chromosome. If the two genes A and B are widely separated, in the chromosome that they are always carried on two different DNA fragments. So if they are distant, they will be carried over two different DNA fragments. If they are close together, they will be carried over the same DNA fragment. The probability of simultaneous transformation of the A minus B minus recipient is very less. Suppose if, because they are present over two different DNA fragments, and there is a probability that probability is very less. So as I showed you this particular example, suppose this is having gene A and some other fragment, random fragment is having gene B. So this is have less probability that both these fragments will be transformed, will be uptaken by this recipient cell. Whereas suppose if they are present over the same fragment, if they're close enough that they're present over the same fragment, then there is a possibility, there is a probability, high probability of uptaken together if this particular fragment is taken up by this recipient cell. Both A and B are present together because they are present to close to each other. Therefore, we can map the position of genes using this strategy. The probability of simultaneous transformation if they are present over two fragments is less, whereas if the two genes, however, are so near one another that they can often present over a single DNA fragment, and the frequency of simultaneous transformation, that is called co-transformation. If the two genes are simultaneously transformed, this is co-transformation because they are present over the single DNA fragment, is said to be is having the same as the frequency of single gene transformation. So there's a frequency of transformation will be high in comparison if they are present over different fragments. This frequency of co-transformation is inversely proportional to the distance between the two genes. So you need to remember this line, and if you remember this, uh, you are able to get this. So the frequency of co-transformation means the frequency of transformation of the two genes together is inversely proportional, means there is very less probability if they are distant, and there is high probability if they are very close. So inversely proportional to the distance between the two genes. For example, this is an example given. So there is a problem. A transformation experiment is carried out using a donor DNA which is having all the three genes A plus B plus C plus, and the recipient that is not having all the three genes. So what will be, we need to find the order of genes. Okay. So A positive transformation frequency is tested, and of these A is not given. So B positive is 64%, none are C positive. Okay, so for A positive, the B positive frequency is 64. It is showing that A and B are very close together. Whereas since there is no C positive, so you can make a DNA fragment. Suppose this is a DNA fragment. This is gene A. This is gene B. They're closely present, means the frequency is 64%. A positive cells will have B positive. This is also present, but it is not having C positive, so it is showing that C is actually present somewhere distant. Therefore, it is not coming in the same fragment. The DNA can be broken somewhere in middle, so it is not having C if it is broken from here somewhere, right? Now, the second statement is B positive transformation is also selected, and of these 8% are C positive. So actually the C is distant, A and B are, B is 64%, C is 8% with respect to B. But B is 64% with respect to A. Therefore, they are very close, they are distant. So what will be the order? So this will be the order, A, B, C. But they are close, C is distant. And this is a possibility that they can be present over the same fragment if oh sorry, they are not present over the same fragment because B positive transformation is also selected, and of these 8% was C plus. So it will be it can be broken from here. So it will have B and C, but the possibility is only 8%. Okay, so the order must be A, B, C, and the distance between the genes can be denoted like this: A, B, C. This is the original segment or original genome in which these three genes are present in this order, right? Guys, if you have a query, please ask me. Please stop me here. Otherwise, I will start some new topic.
हेलो
Yes.
सर, एक्चुअली अगर हम ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन ग्राम नेगेटिव बैक्टीरिया का ग्राम पॉजिटिव में करवा दें तो क्या ग्राम पॉजिटिव बैक्टीरिया ग्राम नेगेटिव में चेंज हो जाएगा?
यार दिन वही वाली बात, मतलब हद है। मैं बोल रहा हूँ बेटा कि देखो, ग्राम पॉजिटिव बैक्टीरिया ग्राम नेगेटिव बैक्टीरिया में स्ट्रेटजी बिल्कुल अलग होती है, क्योंकि उनकी सेल की मॉर्फोलॉजी बिल्कुल अलग है ना। तो ग्राम पॉजिटिव बैक्टीरिया ग्राम नेगेटिव बैक्टीरिया के साथ में इस तरह से नहीं होता है। कॉम्पिटेंस जब ही होता है जब क्लोजली रिलेटेड स्पीशीज होती हैं।
आर्टिफिशियल कॉम्पिटेंस तो हम कर सकते हैं ना।
इसका मतलब ये थोड़ा ना है कि कुछ भी ऐसे नहीं होगा, होगा ही नहीं ऐसे।
ओके सर।
Because competence
और
factors are
सर,
not
वन मोर
present.
क्वेश्चन, ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन कोई वेरिएशन कॉज करता है?
सॉरी, दोबारा बोलो।
ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन कोई वेरिएशन कॉज करता है?
वेरिएशन ऑब्वियसली यस, क्योंकि जो ट्रांसफॉर्म सेल्स होती हैं दे विल शो कंप्लीटली डिफरेंट फिनोटाइप, उनकी कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स चेंज हो जाएंगी। जैसे ही तुमने इस वाले केस में देखा भाई, क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पे, जो रफ स्ट्रेन्स हैं वो स्मूथ में चेंज हो रही हैं।
हाँ
अब
हाँ।
पहली बात तो उनकी मॉर्फोलॉजी चेंज हो रही है, दूसरी बात उनकी कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स भी चेंज हो रही है, क्योंकि नॉन वायरुलेंट से वो हार्मफुल यानी कि वायरुलेंट स्ट्रेन्स में चेंज हो जा रही है। तो क्या होगा, जब भी ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन होगा तो उनकी कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स चेंज हो
तो
जाएंगी।
सर, एक्चुअली आपने जो अभी बताया था कि ग्राम जो हमारा ग्राम नेगेटिव बैक्टीरिया है तो उसमें जो ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन है वो रैंडम नहीं रहता, और ग्राम पॉजिटिव बैक्टीरिया में ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन रैंडम होता है, मतलब उसकी चांसेस ज्यादा है ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन की एक तरह से।
यस,
तो ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन होता है ग्राम पॉजिटिव में तो वो ज्यादा हार्मफुल होना चाहिए, जबकि हमारा जो ग्राम नेगेटिव बैक्टीरिया है वो ज्यादा हार्मफुल है।
हाँ, तो ग्राम नेगेटिव ज्यादा हार्मफुल क्यों है तुम बताओ।
आउटर सरफेस की वजह से सर।
हाँ एग्जैक्टली, क्योंकि इट इज हैविंग सम लिपोपॉलीसैकेराइड कंपोनेंट व्हिच इज टॉक्सिक, व्हिच आर टॉक्सिक। जो लीथल कंपोनेंट होता है वो उसकी आउटर मेम्ब्रेन में प्रेजेंट है, उसकी वजह से वो टॉक्सिक या है। अब इसमें क्या हो रहा है, जो ट्रांसफर मीन्स जो ये ट्रांसफर हो रहा है जीन्स का, इससे नई नई स्ट्रेन्स इवॉल्व होती हैं। तो तुम ऐसे बोल सकते हो कि अगर ग्राम पॉजिटिव को ग्राम नेगेटिव से कंपेयर करें तो ग्राम पॉजिटिव में इवॉल्व होने के चांसेस ज्यादा हैं, ना कि उनके मीन्स हार्मफुल होने के चांसेस ज्यादा हैं, राइट। तो उनकी इवॉल्व होने के चांसेस ज्यादा हैं बिकॉज इट इज क्वाइट रैंडम इन ग्राम पॉजिटिव बैक्टीरिया व्हेन कंपेयर टू ग्राम नेगेटिव बैक्टीरिया, क्योंकि ग्राम नेगेटिव
ओके सर।
बैक्टीरिया। गॉट इट।
ओके ओके सर, थैंक यू सर।
हाँ भाई, और लोगों की भी कोई क्वेरीज हैं? मतलब मेरे को ऐसा रियलाइज हुआ 1 मिनट के लिए कि पूरी रामायण खत्म हो गई और रामायण के एंड में लड़की बोल रही है कि सीता किसका बाप था। ग्राम पॉजिटिव ग्राम नेगेटिव बता दिया कि ग्राम पॉजिटिव ग्राम नेगेटिव बेटा अलग होती है उनकी सेल मॉर्फोलॉजी, दे आर हैविंग डिफरेंट स्ट्रेटजीज, दे आर हैविंग डिफरेंट मेकअप ऑफ their transforming elements, means their competence factors are different. And actually gram negative are more selective than gram positive bacteria, so it cannot possible that you will transform some gram positive and gram negative bacteria together. Generally it is happening between closely related species of bacteria, either gram positive or gram negative. There are two more queries. Oh sorry, they are having no queries. So should I continue because we are switching to completely different section called transduction? या mix up हो जाएगा सब कुछ। कल पढ़ते हैं, otherwise you will be confused totally. You will mix all the things together. Right. So first of all, you will cover all this, whatever we have discussed today. This is a bit complex, so you need to go through, and then we will discuss the next transduction in the next class. Okay, but I will give an introduction. So we are having 10 minutes, so I will take only 5 to 6 minutes to explain this. Then we will continue in tomorrow's class. So transduction is second type of horizontal gene transfer. So दो तरीके से होता है, ये स्पेशलाइज हो सकता है या जनरलाइज हो सकता है. जनरलाइज इन द सेंस कोई भी जीन ट्रांसफर हो जाए, स्पेशलाइज्ड मींस केवल स्पेशल जीन्स का ही ट्रांसफर होगा. यानी कि अच्छा, दूसरी चीज क्या है, ट्रांसडक्शन में बैक्टीरियोफाजेस की हेल्प से होता है. तो जो वायरस बैक्टीरिया को इन्फेक्ट करते हैं वो स्पेसिफिक होंगे. यानी कि यहाँ पे जैसे एग्जांपल दे रखा है, ये जो P1 बैक्टीरियोफाज है, दे विल इन्फेक्ट ओनली E. coli, whereas the P22 phage they will infect Salmonella species, Salmonella typhimurium, जिसमें पहली बार डिस्कवर किया गया था. So in 1951, two scientists, Liedberg and Ginder, in 1951, they discovered this transduction in Salmonella typhimurium species. Later, they categorized it into two types, generalized and specialized. So in generalized transduction, transducing phages producing during the lytic growth are aberrant and contain a random fragment of bacterial genome instead of phage DNA. So ये तो मैंने पहले ही बताया. देखो, जब भी ट्रांसडक्शन होगा तो इसमें बैक्टीरियोफाज का डीएनए नहीं होगा, इसमें बैक्टीरिया का क्रोमोसोम ही होगा, एक सेगमेंट होगा, एक फ्रेगमेंट होगा बैक्टीरियल क्रोमोसोम का, which is being uptaken by the bacteriophage during previous infection, right? And when it will infect some new bacteria, then it will transfer or it will integrate that particular section of DNA which it has been uptaken from the previous bacterial cell. This is called transduction. अब इसको जनरलाइज क्यों बोल रहे हैं? It is generalized because a random fragment is being uptaken and integrated. Okay, so each individual transducing phase carries a different set of closely linked genes representing a small segment of bacterial genome. बहुत सारे बैक्टीरियोफाज होंगे, सभी में अलग-अलग डीएनए के फ्रेगमेंट हो सकते हैं. So in generalized transduction, each part of the bacterial genome has approximately the same probability of, it is generalized, so there is the same probability of being transferred from donor to the recipient cell. Probability is the same. Any segment can be transferred from this recipient to donor. When a generalized transducing phase infect a recipient cell, expression and it is transferred, the donor genes will occur. Whereas there is a second type that is called specialized, जिसमें कुछ specific genes का ही transfer होगा. So it is explaining generalized only. So where is the second one? Specialized. So specialized transduction differs from generalized one in several ways. It is mediated by specific temperate phase. So first of all, there is a difference. So there are two types of bacteriophages. One is lytic, second is temperate. Temperate means they will not lyse the bacterial cell, okay, and only a few specific donor genes can be transferred to the recipient bacteria. Specialized transducing phases are formed when the lysogenic donor bacteria enter into the lytic cycle and release the phase progeny. So there are two types of phases, temperate and so if it is temperate, it is showing specialized transduction. If it is abortive and generalized is further classified. So okay, there are various things we need to cover in. So we will discuss it tomorrow. No problem. There is a table where it is given actually. So there are two types of phases. One is called temperate, one is virulent. So generalized transduction occurs during the lytic cycle of virulent or temperate phases, whereas the specialized transduction occurs during the lysogenic cycle. And this lysogenic cycle is present in temperate phase, not in the virulent phase, because virulent phases are undergoing the lysis directly. They will infect the bacteria and they will copy their DNA, they will assemble their progeny, and they will lyse the cell. Whereas the lysogenic cycle is involving the integration of bacteriophage DNA into the bacterial chromosome, and this is called prophase. If the bacterial chromosome have the bacteriophage DNA, then this is called prophase. So when this prophase will come out of bacterial DNA, it can have some specific genes, and those specific genes can be transferred to the some random bacteria. So this is called specialized transduction, which can happen only with the help of lysogenic these temperate phases when they are in their lysogenic cycle of their. Second is phase penetrate the bacterial cell and enter into the lytic cycle directly, but here they will undergoing lysogenic cycle first, and then they will show the lytic cycle. Viral DNA begin to replicate immediately after the bacterial it will enter into the cytosol or cytoplasm, whereas in this case, the viral DNA integrate first into the DNA, and then it will make prophase. So when it is integrated into the DNA of a bacterial cell, and then it will replicate with the bacterial genome, this is called prophase. Any bacterial gene are randomly packed into the new phase particle. So this is completely random because it is generalized. Whereas because this is having some sequence homology where this will integrate, therefore the bacterial gene adjacent to the previously incorporated viral genome are being packaged into the new phase particles. Therefore, this is specialized in nature. So this point is depicting that why it is so special, why it is specialized, because only the adjacent genes where this prophase is being integrated or the viral DNA is being integrated, those genes have more chances, more probability of being transferred from the one bacterial cell into the another bacterial cell or transduction. New phases have no viral DNA; they are having bacterial DNA. In fact, whereas in this case, new phases have both the viral and bacterial DNA. Donor bacterial genes are incorporated into the chromosome. So you need to note this point also, because in generalized transduction, when the packaging will take place, during packaging, it can happen that the virus will pack the bacterial fragment of DNA fragment instead of viral genome. And when the cell will be lysed and it will come out of the recipient cell, when it will infect some new cell, it will help integrate the fragment of DNA into new bacteria. Donor bacterial genes are incorporated into the chromosome of new bacterium, whereas here donor bacterial genes are incorporated into the chromosome of new bacterium together with the genome of transducing phase. So here you need to remember this also, because this is having both the genome, both the viral and bacterial DNA, not the complete bacterial DNA, but a segment of bacterial DNA. But it will have genomes together, have the genome in the transducing phases also. Okay. So this table is important. You need to go through this table. And that's all for today. Thank you. Good night. Rest we will cover in tomorrow's class. Right? If you have some queries, please ask before leaving. So no queries. Okay, good night.